Is it true that you got kicked out of polygamy because you wanted 2 wives and 2 husbands? Literally, it was like, this guy's having a seizure. Like, you know, like, hey, call 911. Literally, it's like, no, man. It's okay.
Dude, everybody here is seizing. Could you imagine? Get here quick! All the trucks!
All the ambulances! Bring a school bus!
Growing up, did you ever have a conversation with your friends or whatever about how your dog can beat up your friend's dog? Like specifically about dog fights. He came up behind me and dude, this guy smacked me on the ass in the middle of the race and just goes, "Don't worry, dude, you got this." And laughs, leaves me in the dust, bro.
My friend and your favorite ex-polygamist, your favorite comic, your favorite bisexual, Chris Jessop.
Dude, that intro is so great. I appreciate that, dude. That's
I
awesome.
just like it, bro.
Dude, I heard this crazy thing the other day that Grindr's servers like get overloaded whenever there's like a Republican National like convention, like a Turning Point USA in like a certain city or whatever. Like that area just gets a huge ramp up in like Grindr activity, and I find that to be so funny.
Hilarious, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, Grindr just had like half of their employees quit, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, for not wanting to go back in to work.
Oh,
like
to give like return to office.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird that everybody who works at Grindr doesn't want to get back inside.
That is true. Yeah, I heard it's dirty in there.
That's a gay joke.
Well, speaking of gay, bro.
Speaking of gay.
Dude, one of the most interesting things to me was, is it true that you got kicked out of polygamy because you wanted 2 wives and 2 husbands?
Yeah, no, it was a dark time. No, yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of context in that question.
Yeah.
Just with the polygamy stuff. But
just starting off, who is Chris, bro? Like, I know you grew up in Pinesville, right? Pinesdale,
yes.
But you were in Washington before that? Your parents were in Washington? Like,
yeah,
Shelton area? And...
Oh, no, nowhere near Shelton.
Not Shelton,
Port Angeles? North Bend, around there. My mom grew up in that area.
Okay, and your dad?
And my dad was born and raised in Montana.
Okay, coolio. And they met in Utah?
I can't remember exactly where they met. I think it was in Utah. They were, so for like quick context, like my family and how I was raised was just crazy. But yeah, they met when they were teenagers. The first time they ever met was like at my mom and a bunch of her friends were playing volleyball, and my dad and his friends wanted to play basketball, but there was a conflict of scheduling with the gym because my dad and all of his friends were playing basketball. My mom and her friends just showed up, and they're like, why? We were supposed to have the gym at this hour, and they told them to, go frick themselves or whatever they said. And then my mom said to like herself and her friends, she's like, I'm never going to marry any of those boys. And she ended up marrying my dad. So, yeah.
Dang, that's freaking cool. And that was in
Pinesdale. Mm-hmm. In Pinesdale, yeah.
Pinesdale. I can't wait to start asking you about that. But you were born in Pinesdale then?
No, I was born in West Jordan, Utah.
West Jordan, Utah.
Yeah.
And then how long were you there for?
Oh, I was there for 2 months.
Oh, so you just born there?
Yeah, so my birth certificate says, state of Utah, but I mean, I obviously don't have any memory of that. So, yeah, raised in Montana all the way until I moved out for school.
Cool.
Yeah.
In Montana, and then so growing up, so you guys know when I said the intro, ex-polygamist, he grew up in a very unique situation. You weren't actual, so you guys were practicing in the same church, right? But your parents never, your dad never took on more than one wife. No,
yeah, you're right. So my dad was raised in polygamy. It's in this group called the Apostolic United Brethren, the AUB, or what we call the group, which gets from more and more culty with each iteration of the name.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like Apostolic United Brethren, it's like, okay, yeah, that could be something. And it's like, no, it's the AUB. It's like, what the fuck's AUB? It's like, nah, dude, it's the group. You know what I mean? So we call people groupies who are a part of it. And so my mom and dad were hardcore groupies, really into it, really involved with the community and stuff. But, you know, my dad never took on another wife, and that made a lot of people upset with him, actually. Like, they were like, you know, what are you doing? What's going on? You need to pick up a lot more. Like, my dad was like the most eligible married man in town. My babysitter and her sister both wanted to be part of my dad's family.
Mine too.
Oh, there you go. Nice. But yeah, no, he never took on another, and that's, you know, in large part due to my mom. She said, like, nah, not gonna happen.
So growing up, were you like expecting maybe at some point to have another mom, or your like mom and dad kind of sat you down and be like, that's not good?
No, I remember asking them once, like, why don't I have more than one mom or whatever? And my mom and dad were so great about it because they knew that I didn't really understand the context of everything. So what they told me when I was young and asked them, it was like, you know, we haven't found the right one yet. We need to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons. Like, we're not going to go into a polygamist, you know, or a polygamous situation without it being like for like the right reasons and true love and like all that stuff. There's, you know, if I know of a few people that are like that with, you know, husband and then he's in love with all of his wives and stuff. But there are a lot of those who just get married just because, you know, religious duty and that kind of thing.
That's interesting. So like at what age did you start like questioning that kind of stuff?
Well, I've always hated going to church.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like that's kind of a universal thing too.
Like
Have you met somebody that in like when they were a kid, like just loves church?
Okay. Actually, I was that fucking kid, bro.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay, so were you like the type of person that wanted to go to church just to hang out and eat snacks? Or was it like, I'm getting godded up right now and you're into that?
So I was into it, bro. But the thing with me was I grew up in a small community, Brewster, Washington, right? But we got like 80 churches, all different denominations of Christianity. And I was lucky enough growing up, you know, all my friends, they went to different churches. So I was so interested in like going with them and just listening to what the heck these people had to say about basically the same common story, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I remember at a pretty young age realizing like, well, somebody's right about something here, you know, and we're all having a good time. I can see the differences because just growing up, my mom was, I wouldn't say she was a Baptist, but her family, like her grandmother was a Baptist all the time. They're New Testament Baptist. So I would go to that church with my grandma from my mom's side.
How many Baptist versions are there?
I think at that town, 3.
There was 3 iterations of Baptist just in your town?
I think so, yes. Okay. So there was New Testament, there's Old Testament.
And there's the Book of Mormon Baptists.
Well, I didn't even know that. Yeah, okay. But then I think there was another one, but it was what we called it was the Log Church, but I think that might have been Protestant or Lutheran too.
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
That's crazy. So essentially you were basically in a position where you're at like this giant crossroads of all these different types of thinking when it came to Christianity, is what you're saying? Okay, cool.
And I understood the basic idea, you know, like treat everybody the same, blah, blah. But then I would see those differences in everybody, like, oh, so you guys don't eat the bread in the body every day, you know? Oh, well, anyways, that was my other context to it was the Baptist, just growing up as a little kid, Baptist, and then my dad's side was Catholic. So I went through like First Communion, all of that shit. And this time seeing the differences because one week I'd go here, the next week I'd go here.
Were you christened?
Christened as in like saved?
Well, like the sprinkling of the water and stuff?
In
the Catholic Church.
In Catholic Church, yeah.
You were when you were a baby.
Everything, yeah.
Oh, the whole
baptized as a child.
Do they? I thought it was christening. Am I an idiot? I'm probably an idiot.
So, it's baptism. Yep. I was baptized as a child. The way I understand it was actually goes
what
back to that.
What am I thinking of then?
I don't know. Maybe like blessed or something. But
okay,
they actually did that. My understanding is they baptized children in Catholicism. Babies especially goes back to the Black Plague. So
they gotta wash them off.
But yeah, the babies were just dying off,
Yeah.
And moms were like worried. Well, my baby was just born, didn't get to meet Jesus or understand Jesus is going to go to heaven. And they're like, oh, well, we'll start baptizing them. So they just started baptizing at that age, and it stuck.
Just throwing kids into the river,
babies.
just like, get them in there.
Because that was one of the things was I was like, well, over here at the Baptist church, you had to wait till you understood why you were being baptized. And then they would kind of be like, yeah, Jesus got baptized at 33 or 30, whatever, that age, older,
Yeah.
And I would be like, man, that's pretty inconsistent. Why are we doing it as a baby, this and that, And that was my first like, oh, there's this church across the street, Assembly of God. There's this church over here, the Latter-day Saints. There's the Jehovah's Witness, like all my friends, I'll just be like, hey, can I go with you to church, And I did. So I would go and I just listen to the differences, see all kinds of like inconsistencies with people, the things I thought were very interesting. No judgment or whatever, but like I remember going to with my friend and his dad was the pastor of the Assembly of God.
Okay.
And the Assembly of God is where they speak tongues if it's time to speak tongues.
Dude, that is wild stuff,
Bro, especially if you've never heard of it.
Dude. I can only imagine you as a young dude just going in and like listening to that for the first time. That would have been so nuts.
Bro, it is wild because you get there all nice old people, It's like, oh, you guys are nice white people. Everybody else over here, There's Rickon. All of a sudden, in the middle of praying in the beginning, you just see some guy stand up and and I'm like, I literally was like, this guy's having a seizure. Like, like, hey,
What call loud?
And literally is like, no, man, like, it's okay.
Do you think that anybody's ever been like the EMTs have been called from somebody who goes to an Assembly of God church for the first time?
Oh, and actually has a seizure?
No. What I'm saying is like the person who shows like very similar to your situation where they're freaking out.
Oh, and then they're like,
and they're actually calling.
Everybody here is seizuring.
Could you imagine? Get here quick! All the trucks!
All the ambulances! Bring a school bus!
Call the other cities!
Oh, man.
That would be so wild.
Well, I wonder if anybody's ever died because they were having a seizure.
But they just thought they were thinking...
the Lord is speaking to this one.
You are healed now.
Oh, man.
Okay, go ahead and get up now. No, anyway, I'm tripping over. You got to get back in your... Someone grab the shovel.
Oh, man. Dang. Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
So that's kind of how I got into religions, man.
Okay.
That was kind of something that sparked my curiosity when I first started listening to you and your comedy. Was like, damn, he has a very unique perspective that a lot of people do not get, man.
Oh, well, you're very flattering. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, dude, and you work hard at your comedy. When you can, listen to this guy on stage, bro. Like, legitimately.
Come to a stage near you.
Yeah, I like the way you write, bro. I mean, you work on it. There's very few comics out there that actually will take pen to paper and fucking edit that shit, bro.
Well, if I honestly, with the comedy stuff, the polygamy material specifically has been a later addition to all my stuff because I don't know, I'm just plagued by the idea that I'm just not there yet when it comes to like the concepts and like the ideas that I want to go through with the polygamy stuff, because it's just not, I don't know how to say this. It's not fun to talk about sometimes, just because there's a lot there. It's not to say that I'm sitting there like, I don't want to drudge up my trauma. That's not what I'm saying. Whatever. That's not how I operate. It's more so like, I want to make sure that I'm getting it right and making sure that I'm saying what I truly want to say when it comes to like, religion and like everything that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent the first like year and a half not writing a single, thinking about material that would be funny for that stuff. Jokes about childhood or stories from growing up in Pinesdale or whatever. But like I said, I spent the first year and a half not even touching it and just writing jokes
Really?
that had nothing to do with it, just because I wanted to become more skilled as a joke teller. And then when I have those skills, then I can start. It's like, oh, I want to build furniture. You don't start by making a couch. It's like, build a stool.
Okay.
Learn how to build a really good stool first. And then when you do that, graduate to chairs. And then after that, you know what I mean? So I want to make sure that I'm doing my, due diligence in that respect, just because I feel like that subject matter deserves it.
Mhm. So then do you try to like you said, you didn't want to dredge it up. So do you try to kind of just ignore that trauma when you're writing jokes? Like you don't even want to like acknowledge that trauma in your jokes very much?
No, I think I just want to be able to, like, I'm not afraid of like, bringing up the trauma or whatever. And also too, I mean, we're throwing the T word around a ton. Yeah. And so there's a lot of people who might hear that and be like, oh my God, Chris, oh my stars, you must have been, no, dude, my childhood fucking ripped. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it was so fun. And my parents are so great. And no, I wouldn't change it for the world. Amazing, amazing time.
I feel like that's kind of the case with a lot of people with trauma, though. Like,
sure.
Me especially. Like, I loved my childhood, but also I remember shit to fuck me up.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's valid too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I just want to make sure that if I'm going to be, marching through, and too, like, dude, sometimes the crowds, like, something that I've been doing recently is that, like, I have yet to find a way to introduce how I grew up without people completely backing up on me, because when I say, oh yeah, I was raised in a polygamist cult, like the context and everyone's frame of that subject matter is condensed into like Cody Brown and Sister Wives, Big Love, and then like the play from the Book of Mormon, so it's like kind of those three. And then also, the stuff they hear about like Warren Jeffs and who I'm distantly related to and all that shit too. So I have to, like, when they think that, documentaries, true crime podcasts, all this stuff. So they just like really back up and they're like looking at me like, is this going to be like, okay. I'm like, guys, it's just jokes about my family. Like, chill. It's all going to be fun. You're going to learn something. It's going to be fun. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, sure. And then I have to work for another like 3-4 minutes just to convince them that you can play.
So you've seen it more to be almost off-putting to the crowd than...
Maybe not off-putting, more so like scary for them to, they're hesitant in a way. And... I think I just have to be a lot more playful with my delivery instead of be like, I grew up in polygamy,
I have the same issue, bro. With like, I'll go up there, I start talking shit about homeless people. Right off the bat, people are like, is this funny? Can we laugh at this?
Well, I think it was something that was one of your huge strengths as a performer is that you're extremely likable, even though the subject matter of your jokes might be a little bit more like, oh shit, like you dance on the edge, but the way that you deliver it, I think is really kind of like fun and playful, where you're kind of like, come on guys, like, we're having a good time.
That's exactly what I'm trying the whole time, bro. Yeah, thanks for that, man.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Watching you do your stuff is really a good time.
You were the first, you weren't the first, but actually, so you were there the first time I ever went on stage. And you invited me that night to go to Tease.
Yeah, dude.
Tease, yep. You were the first comic to be nice enough to actually talk to me, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. I remember it too.
Oh, well, there you go.
Bro. It was a nice intro into comedy.
Well, and Tease is a great spot too. And for those listening, we're talking about Tease Lounge in Spokane. It's our weekly Tuesday late night, dive bar mic ran by Laura Branning.
Still going.
Shout out for Laura. Yeah, dude, still trucking along. Tease on a Tuesday, man. The place is raucous. Anything goes there. Well, not anything, barring a few things, but most of the time,
I see. I've seen some things.
Yeah, you see some crazy shit on that stage, and it's a good time. It's the perfect place to just go up and be like, okay, I don't know if this joke is gonna work, but here we go.
Oh yeah.
And most of the time, you're performing for comics and stuff, but that's also fun too if you want it to be. Like, people complain about that, and I think that's bullshit.
It's a good workout because your material, those homies, they were paying attention at the club most likely.
Yeah.
So you can't just like, you could go up there and be performative and do the same jokes, because that's what we're doing, guys. Comics aren't going up there and just right off the cuff.
New jokes every time. That would be impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're just constantly being an improv comic, which is a thing.
Yeah. But when it comes to things like Tease, like we were saying, it's usually comics that you're performing for, and you can throw your new stuff out there, And if you get a giggle out of them, then hey, maybe let's work on that joke a little bit.
Yeah, it just gives it a spark, and that's all you need, you know. Most jokes, like if you think about the comics that you watch like on Netflix and Hulu or whatever, even your favorites from like back in the day, you know, like Steve Martin and like the folks before the streaming, you know, every single joke that you see them tell is a joke that they've been working on forever. And I mean, unless it's billed as an improv type of situation, which of course is extremely popular. Whose Line is, you know, my favorite TV show of all time. But yeah, like it's weird to think that people just assume that you were going up there with brand new shit every single time. I'm like, dude, that is not even sustainable at all. At least not for me right now. I mean, I would love to get to that spot. That'd be crazy if you could just rip off like A-list quality jokes like right there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody who I thought does a real good job of making it feel authentic. Like, oh, dang, he's just coming up with it. Was when I watched Harlan Williams, bro.
He is so funny.
Oh my goodness. If you get the chance, go watch Harlan Williams live, you guys.
Dude, he is so funny.
You will not be disappointed.
He's one of those guys too where he operates in messing with your expectations 100% of the time. Like nothing is everything's up for grabs for him to play with.
Oh yeah.
Even with the concept of you being at a comedy show, like he messes with you in the best way, and it's so fun.
Well, and then you think, you know, like I said, you think it's genuine and authentic in that second. But I had the opportunity to go to that club, to the Spokane Comedy Club. They would give me the opportunity to go see and study some of the comics while they were up there. And after seeing the second, third, fourth show of Harlan's, it's like, oh my God, it's the exact same show. But somehow, it feels so authentic every time.
Yeah, it feels like it's the only thing in the world in that room every time he performs. Yeah, it's pretty rad.
He does a great job.
Dude, have you seen his, he was one of the guys who did the special to Nobody.
Did he? Kind of like...
if you go on YouTube, and I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, Harlan Williams does an entire comedy special out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Literally like a mic and a mic stand, no chords. It's just him performing on this hill of dirt, and cameras like swooping around him and stuff. Dude, it's so funny.
I need to see.
It's honestly brilliant.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Huh.
But anyway, yeah. So the jokes are coming along, and you know we're dipping our toe into that stuff more because I know that's like the polygamy stuff when it comes to material. I mean, it's an infinite well, you know, and people have kind of responded to it in a way that's positive. And so like we said earlier, that spark is there. So we're going to keep feeding that flame.
Okay. Well, dipping back into that infinite well, how, like I said, do you remember the age that you started questioning everything around there?
Dude, I'm so glad you kept that bookmark. I'm like, okay, yeah, full circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started questioning things when I was, like I said, young. I was, I don't know, maybe 9, 10. And I was like, you know, I've never really felt the Spirit of God. I don't like the still small voice, the burning in the bosom, the holy heartburn, you know, like I had never felt it really. I mean, I thought I did. I was trying to put it, maybe is that the feeling? Is that what it is? I don't know. So I never had that confidence, you know, like there were so many people around me, obviously, you know, who are just, they were like, this is the way it is. And they're so vehemently passionate and so like resolute in their beliefs that I was like, they know what they're talking about. And that I think that was honestly like one of the starts of like how much self-doubt I have with everything, because I'm like, everybody seems like they got it figured out except me.
Bro, and that's how I felt with the adults in my life. And then I was seeing literally contradictions where I'm like, wait, these guys are both supposed to be right, but they're not saying the same things in the same rooms, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's weird. So at like 10, I would say I'd agree about that age is when you start realizing that kind of weird stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's, you know, pretty consistent for a lot of people, you know, at least the people that I've talked to who have been involved with religion and didn't grow up in a crazy, you know, hyper religious situation like I did. Yeah. The people who were like, you know, just grew up like, oh yeah, I grew up in, you know, Minneapolis and my dad was Catholic or whatever, you know. And they're like, yeah, no, I was around 10, 11. And I left when I was 13, 14.
Oh, you left that when you were 13, 14. Oh, man. I don't know. Damn, I thought, because you went to, where did you go to college?
I went to college at the University of Mary, which is a private Catholic university, which is probably where you're.
That's where I was getting confused. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So did you have, in childhood, was it a Christian school? Was it a public school? Like, were you educated on evolution, or were they like,
no, definitely not evolution. So Pines Academy is the name of the school in Pinesdale. It's where my dad taught. It's where my grandpa taught. It's where my aunt taught. I come from a family of teachers and educators. So, yeah, I mean, it was this tiny little school that was ran by the religion, and, you know, all the teachers were people in the community, and the school was basically everybody I was related to. Basically, the school was all the kids from the community, and that was it. So there's maybe, you know, it was K through 6. We had a little bit of a preschool too, so it was, you know, maybe 200 kids through 6. Like my 6th grade class was 11 boys, no girls.
Okay, and I've never gone and seen an elementary school in this country that didn't have 1 or 2 Mexicans. Did you guys have 1 or 2 Mexicans?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, dude. yeah, we did.
Oh, we get in there, man. We get in there somehow. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, dude.
That is awesome, bro. So it was were those Hispanics, were they part of the church too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like they had, in that community, they had to be part of.
You know, that was kind of the way it was the majority of the time growing up. It has now since changed a little bit, like
because of your parents are
yeah. So my parents, to put another kind of like context to it, like the land in Pinesdale is owned, or for a long time was owned by the AUB.
All the land.
The land, yes. So like people could build houses and buy the houses and own the house, but the land was deeded out in, you know, various sections for people to kind of live on, kind of a thing.
Almost like a giant HOA.
Yeah, in a weird way. I mean, they didn't enforce shit like, you know, your hedges have to be a certain width or whatever. But yeah, so like everybody in town was part of the religion growing up. I was related to nearly everybody.
Was there anyone that was in the town that wasn't part of the religion?
No, not that I can remember. I mean, there was a few people who like lived right next to our town, but not specifically in Pinesdale. They were like, okay, yeah, they live close. They have to drive through Pinesdale to get to their house, but they're not actually in the actual boundary of Pinesdale. So, so yeah, then my parents bought their land back, then flipped it, sold the house and the land to some folks who weren't affiliated with the religion at all, and then moved in, which was huge because that was like one of the first times that, you know, somebody from the outside, non-groupie, who moved in and who like lived in Pinesdale, and they came in and my parents were completely transparent. They're like, here's how things go here. You're going to see people every Sunday walking across this road. They're all going to be dressed, you know, like they're going to church, and that's what they're doing. They're going to church and they're walking. And they're like, yeah, you're going to see people on horses. And
how long ago was that?
Oh, that was just a few years ago. Yeah, 2-3 years ago.
That's like recent.
Recent.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
so were they holding on to that land for a while? You said you left at 13?
No, okay, yeah. So so the left is the idea to flip here, but I left mentally and spiritually. Like I was like, I'm done, but I lived in Pinesdale all the way until I moved out to go to college.
Feel it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where I was getting a little confused. Okay. So at 13, okay. What at 13 then? Was that like the first time you saw a different Christian perspective, or?
That's a good question. I just knew that it wasn't right to treat women poorly because I was raised by good parents, you know? And it's not to say that everybody in Pinesdale is raised by bad parents, and that's the exact opposite. There's not a parent in Pinesdale that doesn't absolutely love their kids, you know? I want to make sure that's out there too. Like, I'm not trying to paint Pinesdale as like this crazy, you know, place. But like there's inherent bullshit that comes with living polygamy. You know, it's like really misogynistic, really patriarchal, that kind of stuff. And it's not cool to, I don't know, treat women like brood mares. And I didn't like it. and saw that it was happening, and I, was kind of starting to, that was one of the first threads. Then I started looking through the scriptures, and then I saw this thing. I still have it at home, but I have like this set of scriptures, and in the index, they have like definitions for various words that you might find in this, in, the Book of Mormon or the Bible or whatever. And in prophet, under the word prophet, they had people chosen by God to, they gave the definition, and in the definition it said to edit the works. And the edit thing, I was like, wait a second. So a man, a guy, a dude, a regular guy picked by God, okay, cool, special, Moses, Daniel in the lion's den, a full, you can name any biblical person. Like, these guys were just regular dudes who were picked by God, right? But they're still dudes. They're still guys. They're still, they wake up erect, like that kind of, like, you have to bring them down to that level.
Yeah,
it's really weird for me to think that, like, oh, they get to edit this shit too. Like, this is the word of God, I thought. They're just like vessel, mouthpiece, paper, and that's it. They shouldn't have any sort of say because it's God's word, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I was taught. But then I saw that edit and I was like, that's not how it should work. And then everything started to fall apart. Everything. I was like, this is not what I'm about. I don't think this is right. I don't think this is good. I think we need to kind of change course, and I did, and I've never looked back.
Okay, that's very interesting. I like that that perspective of it too. So did you? So it was more within the church itself is what changed your mind compared to an outside view, because it sounds like you were pretty close-knit community.
Pretty tight-knit.
Yeah, so you never had a Jehovah show up at the door and be like...
we did.
Oh, what?
We did, yeah, dude. Props to the Jehovah's Witnesses, man. They ain't scared.
They said, fuck
Dude, they're coming in, man.
You have how many wives?
Dude, I got pamphlets. Dude, we got pamphlets for everybody, dude. You guys like polo shirts? We got them, dude.
Yeah, bro.
They showed up and dropped off the watchtower and the whole nine.
Get a watchtower.
Dude, we had a senator show up to our house once. It was crazy. I can't remember his name. Fuck, now I feel bad.
So when the
Max Baucus, that's who it was.
When the Jehovah showed up, did you guys, like, as a family have questions?
We turned him away. We were like, oh, so sorry, thank you so much, but
that's so interesting. Okay, so then they expect, like, the missionaries that they send or the elders that they send to just, like, wouldn't you want to treat people the way, like...
Oh, okay, yeah. So there is a little bit of a difference there. So in the AUB, we don't practice missionary work.
Oh, there's no elders. There's no
missionaries in the group.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so there's the AUB.
Mm-hmm.
They are in, obviously not just the Latter-day Saints. It's fundamental.
Yes, FLDS.
FLDS. So they're part of FLDS.
So yeah, it's a branch off of a branch off. We'll do a quick history lesson.
Okay,
sweet. So back in the day, Joseph Smith makes the Mormon Church. Went to the woods, had a vision, saw God. Hey, new religion, cool, let's do it. You get to fuck a lot of girls, and everybody's like, what?
Was that on the tablets?
No, but he was like, oh, it's like a cool thing. Remember, like King Solomon had like that, yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, and they're like, yeah.
Okay.
So he starts that 1830s ish. Fast forward, they march west, Brigham Young, the whole crew, like Brigham Young, as in Brigham Young University, he had anywhere between 48 to 56 wives, depending on which historian you talk to. So, yeah, the dude was rampant. So they march west, and in 1880s, Utah was just like this territory. Mm-hmm. They called it the state of Deseret, and Brigham Young essentially wanted to, like, make his own country. But they knew that it wasn't really going to happen. Brigham Young eventually passes away, and the church leadership at that time was like, look, we need money. We need to become a state. We got the territory. We have it under control. It's all good. And so they essentially applied for statehood. And then the federal government at the time was like, you crazy Mormons, you live this crazy lifestyle. No, we're not going to give you this state. If you abandon your lifestyle, we'll give you and grant you statehood, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so the Mormons, according to them, are like, it was divine influence that told us that we are going to modernize into contemporary standards with abolishing polygamy. And that caused a fracture. That was in the late 1880s, so right around 1880. I think it was 1889 or something like that. I could be wrong on those dates. But essentially, that caused a split because, rightfully so, all the Mormons are like, Joseph Smith had multiple wives. Brigham Young. Like, what do you mean we're going to like be done with this? Like, this is from God, you said. They're like, well, actually, God said this now. And they're like, nah, no, we're going to keep living polygamy. Boom, split. That turned into the FLDS, and the LDS, the people who abolish it or who don't live polygamy anymore, kept marching forward. Salt Lake, bike helmets, missionary work, the temple in Moses Lake, like all of that. Sorry.
Okay.
So then the FLDS started doing its own thing, and that eventually turns into Warren Jeffs and the Short Creek, the documentaries that you see, the whole like Texas raid in El Dorado, Texas. That was the FLDS. But back in the late 50s, or in the 50s and 60s, there was another split in the FLDS. So like LDS is here, they're doing their own thing. Now we're on the FLDS branch. And then there was another split that happened, just basically a disagreement in leadership, and caused another split. And that split, the FLDS kept on doing their thing. And then that was the AUB, which is where I grew up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I have it drawn out on a piece of paper somewhere, but yeah.
Oh, man, there's so many questions within that.
You can pepper me all day long, and I would love to answer all of them.
Well, today's podcast is about you, homie.
Okay.
I would love to have you return too,
Absolutely.
or we actually talked about, I got a studio in Spokane, so next time
Sick.
we can do it there, and I'll fucking pick your brain about
Dude,
it.
I love this series, though. This is great. This is a vibe.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But because there's literally so many fucking questions. Like, so many. Like, first question would be, why would our country impose on someone's freedom on religion?
That's a great argument.
You know, like that's the first
great
one.
argument.
The second one is, okay, how many of them were like, sure, we'll stop polygamy. But we got these temples super secret, nobody can come, you know, like I wonder what happened. Like it's so many questions, and we'll get to those hopefully eventually, probably another podcast, because that'll be 6 hours of conversation.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah.
But so growing up, the Jehovah Witnesses, you guys turned them away.
Yeah, and that was kind of the standard for basically anybody that was soliciting anything, you know, unless it was kids like selling stuff, you know, like asking for donations and selling a boondoggle, or like, oh yeah, you know, like Girl Scout cookies, Boy Scout popcorn. I sold popcorn in Boy Scouts when I was a kid, so I mean that was basically as close as we got to missionary work. Now that I think
Just
about
like
it,
regular kids.
yeah, you know, selling chocolate or whatever, you know, to raise money for a field trip, you know, like that kind of stuff. So we would obviously go for that, but anybody that was like trying to sell us stuff or get us to buy, you know, invest in this amazing opportunity to sell this, you know, hyper carbonated wine to make you feel more, you know, increase your vitality or whatever the fuck, you know, we were like, no, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, they're like, well, these guys, it seems like they could fall for some stuff.
Dude, honestly, like that's how my family worked. There are so many in Pinesdale that are all about that shit. Like growing up, there was a lot of people who were like, no, dude, these scissors cut pennies. I'm like, okay, man, like, sure, whatever. I'll hear your spiel, but I'm not buying it.
How many people did you see as a kid, people coming in and out of the community a lot?
No, we didn't really have a lot of like new people that would like convert to polygamy, because by modern standards, it's a pretty tough sell. You know what
I mean, for one side, for sure.
there is another side to it. I know what you're talking about, but it's not the way you think it is. But I mean, look, there's that. But it's also, it's not so much that you get to have sex with a lot of women. It's more so that you're also married to them. So like, if you think one marriage is tough, try handling 5.
Dude, no marriages. I never get married, bro. Oh my God. But yeah, bro, that's so not a lot of people coming in and out. Just
No, our population when I was growing up in Pinesdale was right around like 600 to 800, right around there. But then by the time I moved out, it was right around 1,000, I think.
So was incest an issue around there?
Not like brother sister stuff,
but like cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cousins would get married.
And what I mean by an issue there was like were kids born with defects and stuff because
there is an increased risk, obviously, of, you know, health issues that, you know, when you are crossing bloodlines, that happens. And it's not like kids are growing like an extra arm out of their chest or anything like that. But
do you think it was like more than in a regular community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. For our population size, yes.
Yeah.
But if you were to like magnify that out, I don't know what the ratios would be. You know, if we were like more than any other community around or whatever. But it just seemed like there was a lot more kids had health issues, a lot more people asking for prayers. You know, so and so's in the hospital, their baby's not doing well. Like that happened all the time. So
I feel it. That's wild. Well, the reason why I brought it up is because I know a lot of people in the Hutterite communities.
Okay, yeah.
You've heard of them before?
Yep.
So there's a community outside of Spokane called the Hutterites, and they are a very close-knit community. They're very interesting religion. You know,
they live an interesting lifestyle. It's definitely not what everybody else does.
No. Some people confuse them with the Amish, but they use
that's very confusing just because of the way they look, I think.
But they use modern tools, tractors, cars, you know, all that, cell phones, all that. They're real cool people, very interesting. Like I respect everybody and their decisions on
it is kind of a weird visual though when you have somebody who's like dressed like they're Amish, you know, but they're using like an iPhone 10 and you're like, wait, hold on. And so that's where the question mark, I think, comes from for a lot of people, because the first time I saw, you know, someone who was Hutterite using technology, I was like, wait a second. You guys use wooden hammers. You guys build barns fast. What are you doing? You know, so.
Well, no, but these guys, they have a community in Moses Lake and a community in Canada as well. And they have to have like bring your kids over to have dances at this place so they can get introduced to these kids, because they're just and a big thing actually is they're running out of dudes. Yeah, their issues are getting a lot more. They have a lot of females compared to male ratio.
Well, I know of a solution to that.
Oh, you do? You were raised in a solution.
Yeah, dude. Look, there's no, I mean, I don't know what the problem is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's enough dudes for everyone there, all right?
Look, there's plenty of women for those 4 dudes. Look, it's going to be all right.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if they have incest issues, but I'm sure that things like that are a thing that you have to think about when you have small communities that are really like closed off, you know.
They're on the road that goes there for sure. Like at the end of that road, that's part of it, I think. And that's the issue, man. Like, you know, any sort of fundamentalist group, regardless of what religion it falls under, like, it's just not good. You know, you have to keep on reinventing. You have to keep on going because, you know, whether you believe in it or not, evolution is a thing, and culture also evolves. And biology also, like, if you don't want to be like, which of your sisters should you marry? Like, that's not a good idea. That's not a good spot.
Was that wasn't a thing though, right? Right. There wasn't like brother and sister, right? That's not.
No, if you watch Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey on Netflix, which is a docu-series involving the FLDS and Warren Jeffs and Short Creek and Colorado City and stuff, they mention in there that Warren Jeffs, like after his dad died, Warren married a lot of his dad's former wives. So like marrying his mom kind of stuff. And that raised a lot of eyebrows in Colorado City and Short Creek, which caused a little bit of a rift in the community. And, you know, they had the people who were like hardcore on Warren. They're like, that's the way it goes because Warren's the guy, you know, because Ruin, his dad, was the guy. So they're good, you know, but.
Is that how they get picked as a prophet?
Well, it's kind of by seniority. I know that's how it works in the LDS church, which to me is just a breeding ground for bullshit and corruption, which we've already seen with the LDS church. But yeah, no, it's all just kind of arbitrary. People just think that it's, you know, all about bloodline and that very feudal type of perspective. It really sucks. So
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so at 13, you decide, all right, this shit's wild, but you're stuck there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like trying to traverse through middle school knowing that you're only really wanting one individual and to respect one individual and she might not?
Well, I actually thought that that I was going to have more than one wife.
Oh, you did?
When I was a kid. Yeah, that was kind of one of the things that stuck for the longest. Now, like looking back on it, like I've said this on my show before, but like those things that you do when you go and like spend the night at your friend's house, like the sleepover conversations, you talk about girls, like that kind of stuff. Everybody does it. But when I was a kid,
I'm gonna have so many.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, dude. We would have at-length conversations about how many you wanted and why. Like we would seriously we would sit down.
Bro, I remember the same conversations.
Yeah. But yeah, like it was, it was always just like we would be sitting there just trying to, like my friends would be like, hey, so how, like, I think I'm going to have like 3. Like 3? No way, dude. 2. I'm going to be 2. And I'm like, I'm going to go 3.
Really?
I'm going to go 3. Yeah.
So it was always like a reasonable number. Was there like kids that were like, I'm going to have like 11?
No, that would be insane. If they would probably say like, oh, more is better. Like you get closer to God. And that was always the part of it too. Is like, well, how can we be most religious about this? It wasn't like this, because when you're a kid and having these conversations, it's like, you're able to whisper and nobody can hear you. So you kind of like delve into that kind of like sneaky type of subject matter. Mm-hmm. And it always turns into like sex and like that kind of feeling. But for me, it was never that. It was always like, yeah, but like God though, like I want to make sure I do this for God.
When you guys were at the sleepovers and stuff, did you ever talk about like, oh dude, I'm going to be the next prophet?
Oh, dude. I don't think we ever had anybody that I can remember say that in particular where anybody thought that they were going to be the next prophet. But I do recall I can't remember who I was having this conversation with, but I remember something similar to that where it was like, who do you think is going to be the next one? Like out of our age group, because we were like forward thinking, like, of course, the people who are in leadership now are old. They're gonna die.
So it's
like our dads are gonna go there and then eventually die, and then it's gonna be us and our age group, our class. Like, who of our class do you think is gonna be the prophet? And then we would have those types of things. But yeah,
did you guys ever have like no? I remember being like, no, my dad will beat your dad up. You guys ever be like, oh, my dad's gonna be the prophet, not your dad?
Oh, I mean, yeah, probably. There
really?
was probably stuff like that. I mean, but the whole like my dad can beat up your dad. Oh, that was of course a thing. Oh, yeah. My moms can beat up your moms.
My moms, yeah. Bro, I got 8 moms. Dude, they come over and fuck your 2 moms up, bro.
Dude, if our two families got in a fight, I have more brothers and sisters. We're gonna win.
Yeah, you had no idea, bro.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about.
Plus, we got Jimmy. He's got that extra strength, that extra chromosome strength.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We had a lot of talks. This was kind of a weird thing. I don't know if this was a thing for anybody else growing up, but for some reason, I've asked people this, and they kind of wrinkle their eyebrows at me. But like, did you guys ever, like growing up, did you ever have a conversation with your friends or whatever about how your dog can beat up your friend's dog? Like specifically about dog fights. Was that ever a thing for you?
I remember my 2nd grade girlfriend's dad threatening to shoot my dog. And
shit.
I cried, bro.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Like one of the first times that I was trying to be a man. I was like, get over here, Cosmo. Get over here. And the guy comes out, I'm going to shoot that fucking dog.
Oh my God. You're in 2nd grade?
Yeah, bro. I remember that shit. Yeah, dude.
Dude, okay.
Okay, but you know what? I just telling Eric today. I was walking around. Somebody killed my chickens. Not somebody, something. Probably a raccoon. Okay. They decapitated the shit. But every dog that came by, bro, I'm like, I'm gonna shoot that fucking dog, bro. I know she lets that thing off the leash, bro. That thing killed my chickens, dude. Dude. So I can't pass judgment on that.
Dude, like when that's crazy. Like I think about that situation and I flip it to now because I'm the adult now. Like I would never dream of looking at a kid who's like trying to get their dog back and be like, I'm going to shoot that dog. To a second grader, I would never dream of doing that.
Yeah.
Who in their right mind?
He knew I
would
was
say that?
dating his daughter too, though.
Oh,
so that probably had
okay.
something to it. Yeah.
Okay.
And dating in second grade.
Yeah,
I liked his daughter, bro.
Dude, you know Hippie B was slinging.
Oh, dude, yeah, you fucking. That's actually one of the things that I'm most proud of. My girlfriend fucking hates when I bring it up. Preschool, I had 2 girlfriends.
What?
Yeah.
You polygamous
right there
preschooler,
yes,
dude.
Sir. I have one right here, dude.
Don't worry, I got 3 Capri Suns.
Hey, I snagged an extra for you.
I'm saving this one for the next one.
And who knows how that would have ended up, but they both moved away in kindergarten, so we don't know. Maybe I still would have had the 2, dude. Dude, if we could have kept that agreement throughout grade school, high school.
You'd have been where I'm at.
But you're the head chicken.
You're the queen bee.
You should.
You know, there is a lot of personality differences that happen between like the first married wife, second married wife, third married wife and stuff. So much to where there's actually women who grow up in polygamy who like know which wife they want to be. Like, of course, there's always the ones who, you know, I want to be the first wife because that's the, you know.
It's not always the first wife?
No, I mean, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, you know. There is that kind of like queen bee mentality because it's like, oh, they were his first love. You know, there's always that special connection with your first, blah, blah, blah. But there are people out there like, I don't want to be the first wife. No, I want to be fourth or whatever, which I always found kind of interesting. But
like Robin.
Yeah, like Robin.
Bro, she straight up stole him, bro.
Deep cut pull to sister wives.
Sister wives pull, bro.
Yeah, dude. Her and my mom used to work together.
No way.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. With Robin?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think they used to work together, or they would carpooled or whatever. I can't remember, but yeah.
And now all the other sister wives are pissed. No, they're left them now, huh?
A few of them, yeah. Yeah, dude. Cody's messing up, dude.
Cody, bro. That's one thing I remember cracking up. That's why I said the head chicken. I remember watching something where he was kind of explaining, or maybe it was your podcast, where somebody
might have been
was
my
saying,
Uncle Brady.
Yeah, where they were like saying like growing up, the only way I could kind of no, I remember exactly. It was your mom.
Oh, okay.
It was your mom's podcast when she was talking about like when it was about that time about boys, she would be like, "Wait, what? No, I'm not sharing my boyfriend, you know? Like I'm not sure." And then she said that her dad or somebody kind of tried explaining it as like there's a head chicken and a rooster, and then there's other ones, but there's nobody compares to like a
yes, I know what you're referencing. I can't remember exactly what she said. I feel bad for not being able to pull that out of the brain, but
well, that's fine. But that's literally why I thought it was always like the first one they wanted to be like. But I could see why you'd want to be the last one, where you're like, leave the rest of them. We're coming on.
It kind of seems to be the last, whatever amount there is. The last one seems to be the fun one. That one they want is just kind of like, hey, everybody, everything's fine. Like, I don't want to cause issues or whatever. But I do know of some people who are our age that, you know, engage in polygamy and have multiple wives and stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Do you
people
think,
people that I grew up with.
So, are they more, because we all know people like this that are just, I'm trying to please my family and my dad, so this is why I'm here?
There's probably that. I don't know of anybody specifically that has divulged that information. It's obviously a very personal issue for people. But
get that feeling from like your friends, because I know like my good friends that are Christians that like do things that I'm just like, bro,
you know,
I know why you're doing it. You
know, or you can recognize that they're not being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you mean. Yeah, there are some that I think are doing that. But that's their game.
And that's every belief. Like everybody has.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Probably most of the time, you know.
And too, like, I know that we've been talking about, you know, a lot of the crazy shit that happens in polygamy because that's a lot more soundbitey. But I do want to say that, like, there are things about polygamy that teach you about life that I have yet to see work anywhere else. One of them being polygamy, for better or worse, teaches you how to love unconditionally. Because you have to overcome like that jealousy piece, right? Like that part where it's like, I don't want to share my husband. He's mine. He's my husband. That's 100% valid. And I think a lot more sustainable. But there's also a part to it where it's like, if I'm choosing this lifestyle, then I have to be the one to do the work to make sure that I'm choosing love on a day-to-day basis. Because yeah, feelings of love can be wrapped up in, you know, the cloud nine feeling. Everybody knows what that feels like. But once you get into a lot more of a serious relationship, and anybody who's been married or is married can tell you that it is a choice. And with polygamists in particular, is that they have to make that choice every day, even though they don't want to all the time.
So is jealousy really something that the males have to overcome though?
No. And that's an issue that I have personally. You know what I mean? Like, why is it only the women that have to deal with this? You know, because that is a brutal animal. That jealousy, you know, that can eat you up.
Yeah, man. I can only imagine. Like, it's why we don't cheat on our significant others, right? It's because it's like, well, I wish I could go bang everybody, but I don't want her going and banging everybody. So I guess I'll keep it in my pants.
Yeah, that's like, you know, I mean, if you're with somebody who is like, you can do what you want and I can do what I want. If you're both down, then great, cool.
Of course,
you know, consenting adults, and that's another part too, where it's like these people they are making the choice to live this lifestyle, but then it comes back to like, okay, is it informed consent? It's like, are they being just shoved in this lifestyle and they're just choosing this because that's all they've ever known? It's like, have they been given the option to not? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's that too. So I mean, it's such a mess. And so since it's so complicated, that's where I'm like, I'm not a good enough comic to talk about it yet. Yeah, because there's so much to it, you know?
Well, but yeah, I mean, it's content, and people want to know, man. People are interested in that kind of shit. I'm interested in that kind of shit. Like, it's just, I respect everybody and their respective craziness, because I'm agnostic, so I see any kind of religion. I think if you like believe,
where would you put yourself on that spectrum of like hardcore atheist, hardcore believer? Agnostic kind of seems to be in the middle. How close are you to the middle? Like, where does your barometer land?
I always tell my little siblings and stuff, because they ask me that a lot, and I say, I don't know if God is real, but I don't worry about it. I am the best person that I could possibly be, and that's like all I can do, you know? Like, as long as I do my best, if he exists when I pass, it's between me and him, and I think I would do enough to go to heaven for your thought, you know? Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't exist, then he doesn't. I was still a good person, and I left leaving people a smile on their face, you know? Yeah. Like,
but you're not operating on, or you're not choosing to do good deeds out of the fear of going to hell.
Nope.
Or out of the fear of some sort of punitive in the afterlife. Okay, cool. I think that's a great way to operate, because the fear stuff, the fear mongering when it comes to Christianity and most major religions is like, yeah, if you don't believe this way, then there's eternal consequences, which is horseshit in my opinion. But
yeah, and like I say, like, and maybe I am in a fear of, maybe that is why, is because, hey, if I live in a shitty way, I could, if that is when I pass, if that is, then I'm going to hell. And if it isn't, then, well, shit, I left this earth making people feel like shit, and it's just not even worth it.
Well, it's a better way to live, to just choose to do good. I mean, we're about to open up a Pandora's box of morality here. But, but yeah, no, it's kind of an interesting way to kind of view the world. And like I said, like I didn't have more than one mom growing up. So I grew up with a normal situation in a non-normal situation. So to everybody in town, I was the weird one.
Mm-hmm. But that was kind of where my question was at originally too, was like, how much of that was that you were growing up knowing that you were in a normal situation, but were you kind of confused where like, I guess this could change at any time. My dad could take a wife at any time.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. Like I was kind of, I had to defend my father's honor a lot when I was a kid, because everybody in town knew that my dad didn't have more than one wife.
And that was a thing.
And my parents were so involved. I mean, my dad was a teacher. He taught every kid in the town, you know, and they were involved in Boy Scouts and the youth and everything. Like they ran dances and all this stuff. My parents were, I mean, amazing. They did so much for the community. Everybody respected them, loved them, everything. If you wanted to get something done, you called my parents, basically. And since they were so well respected, people were kind of sitting there kind of arms akimbo being like, now, why don't you pick up a few more, you know, and like that kind of thing. I always viewed that as, you know, we're weird and that kind of thing. And then the kids would be like, Chris, you know, your father's living a life of sin.
Were you ever angry at your dad for like not doing it?
No, never once. No, because of the way they explained it, it's like, no, we're doing it for the right reasons. I'm like, oh, that is the right. Yeah, that makes so much sense. You know, I was never sitting there like, my dad's taking our family to hell because he's choosing not to live. No, never once, ever. Yeah, no, my dad's fucking awesome.
That is cool, dude. Yeah, and listening to your dad's podcasts and your mom's, your parents, they sound like awesome people.
They're the best, man. I am so fortunate to have the parents that I do.
You are. To have somebody that loves you and raises you and not walks out is half the battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing too, you remind me of it, is that like I talked about how polygamy, you know, teaches you to love unconditionally and stuff. But another thing on top of that is that it's still family. You know, like when you have just more human beings that care about you, that's a net positive. There is nothing negative about that at all whatsoever. Like if there are just more people in your life who care about you in some form, whether it's like, yeah, we support you in your academics, or like, yeah, we would love to come see you run your track meet or whatever, you know, like you could, if there's just more people, that helps.
Yeah. But I feel like that could also be super detrimental because at some point you get a lot to the point where you're neglecting, as a father,
sure,
you're going to be neglecting all kinds of kids. You can't go to track meet, swim meet, you know. So then in that itself, you're kind of setting the child itself up for kind of you almost not being there, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, there's only so much a single human being can do. Exactly. You can only be at one place at one time. And there are dads who waltz and just, I mean, the finesse that they have of able to just go here, do that, and just bouncing back and forth. And that's just how they kind of operate because they have loads of kids and stuff. It's so commendable, and they're super supportive. I mean, there's so many dads that are like that in Pinesdale. And
they gotta have Riz too, bro. Dang, I could only imagine trying to pick up 4 ladies.
Like when you think about it, like, I mean, you want to say like, yeah, these men in polygamy, it's like, dude, they're laying down the smoke, bro.
They got to,
right?
They got to,
like.
Hey, baby girl, tomorrow I'm gonna be with the other one. All right.
Listen, no, yeah, that's the way it works, dude. Like you go on a rotating schedule. At least that's how it kind of operates most plainly. I know some families have different types of schedules and stuff, but there was one of my friends growing up having that sleepover conversation with how much you want. He was like, dude, I want 7. I'm like, are you going to name them Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? He's like, yeah. I'm like, come on, man.
So then how do you feel about people that live polygamous lifestyles that aren't religious?
Oh, like polyamory?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to like informed consent. You know, if people are down with it and they know what they're getting into and people are communicating and being honest. Honestly, like, I don't really give a shit what people do as long as it's informed and they're down with it and it's not involving kids or animals.
See, and that's what I was going to say. Do you think it's not involving kids yet, but I mean, like, do you think the kids are probably almost would get that kind of neglect a little bit too in those kind of situations?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so, for sure. Because, you know, there's not a lot of attention to go around.
It has nothing to do with religion, right? Yeah. It's only one person. Enough time.
Yeah. And so with the polyamorous stuff, if there are kids involved with those situations too, that's also something that, you know, those parents of those kids are going to have to talk about with them, and however they handle that, they handle it. You know,
it's really interesting.
I would not like to do that. If I was in a polyamorous relationship, I don't know if I would be able to have kids personally, because that's just a huge conversation that's so complicated. And for a little kid, it's like,
yeah, dude. Yeah. And no judgment for anybody out there that hasn't, or literally just talking about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting, man.
If you are that person, you're stronger than me.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
props to you.
just stick by your kid. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
They'll be weirdos and probably comedians, but they'll be fine.
They're gonna have some awesome material.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to watch their Netflix special or whatever Netflix is in the future.
Let's circle back to high school then.
Okay.
So you graduate or you go through elementary,
Mm-hmm.
middle school, pretty normal. Middle schools, you're deciding almost like all of us, hey, my parents are maybe wrong about this, and I want.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I had
questioning things. You know?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the rebellious teenager stuff was definitely there for me.
Yeah.
You know, just like everybody. But I also, like, when I was going into high school was, 13, 14. And that's also when my parents decided to mentally and spiritually leave the religion. So we were all kind of going through it at the same time. And it wasn't a thing that we like sat down as a family and be like, we are not going to church anymore. That wasn't the way it worked. We all in our family, me, my my older sister and my younger sister, I only had 3 siblings, but my younger sister and younger brother were kind of too young at that time to kind of really conceptualize it.
Mm-hmm.
So my older sister and I, my parents, all kind of made our own decision on our own. We all kind of arrived at the same conclusion independently at the same time. Yeah. Within like maybe 6 months of each other. And so then it all of a sudden was like, nobody is going to church anymore. It's like, wait, are we all, oh, sweet. This is great. Awesome. Cool. So so all throughout high school with the religion stuff, I ventured off and tried to, I became interested in the LDS church just because I was trying to find something. Mm-hmm. So I investigated that for a little bit. And then all the way up until my senior year. And then I moved away to North Dakota and decided not to be involved with anything anymore religiously. So,
how much of that came from your discipline and running?
Oh, running saved me in that respect.
Yeah.
I kind of replaced a lot of the anger. It's so funny if you were to ask my mom that question. She's like, no, he would just go for runs because he was just too rambunctious, which is also true. But yeah, like the discipline part was replaced with practice running, and I threw myself into the running stuff. That's the only thing that I cared about.
Yeah, right, because you were a state champ?
Multiple time state champ.
Oh,
Yep. Multiple dump in the brag.
How many?
Oh, let's see. Okay, so I had 2 mile twice, mile once, and cross country. So 4 individual.
4 times?
4 individual.
So cross country, you said?
Yep, senior year cross country, individual state champ. And then my junior year, I won the mile and 2 mile at state. And then my senior year at state, I got second in the mile and then won the 2 mile.
Fucking A, bro. Props. Yeah. Even though it was in high school, still props, bro.
Yeah. Hey, it's something.
You're 80 years, but I was a high school state champ.
Still got the medals, maybe.
Oh, bro, I wish, man. I got this close.
Hey,
I got second was the closest I ever got.
And that was wrestling?
Wrestling.
Dude, that's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, was fortunate enough to land a scholarship to the University of Mary and ran for 5 years out in good old Bismarck, North Dakota.
And who got you into running?
My dad. My dad ran track in high school, and it was something that I always, of course, everybody looks up to their dad, most people look up to their dad rather. And my dad was an athlete. He played basketball a ton. He was always involved in activities and sports and running, and like being physical and being active was something that was constantly a part of my childhood. Mm-hmm. Always. Like we were always just going out and playing, swimming, hiking, whatever it was, we did it. And so my dad kind of just like shifted focus, like, okay, he has some athletic talent. Okay, cool. Let's go to basketball. Basketball was my first love of sports. My dad loves it. I mean, March Madness, with filling out brackets when you were a kid, all that stuff. Loved basketball. Then got injured in a basketball game my freshman year and got a concussion. Like I got flipped up and like landed straight on my head onto the hardwood. Got a concussion. Doctor was like, hey, yeah, no dice. Like if you get another one, it might be done for you. Like it might be curtains. And so I was like, dang it. But I had already done cross country earlier that fall and track the previous year. So I was like, you know what, let's just stick to running. And yeah, just went full bore.
So something you got into. And Were you the inspiration for your sister as well, state champ? I think.
Yeah. My little sister, she also won a state title. She was a member of the 4x1 relay her senior year, and she won. Yeah, so I mean, when I got into track, it was gangbusters from there. My little brother's also a state champ in track.
In Utah? So
Nope,
in Montana.
Montana. Yep.
Montana. Okay.
Yep.
So then it was tougher when you got to college and had to start running against black people.
Dude. Yeah, dude. Yep, that's the way it goes. Yeah, got lapped a lot. No, dude. It's
like, I got this. What the fuck?
Dude, the thing too, like, there is that huge jump in athletic talent. Like, you think you're hot shit in high school because you won a state title or a few state titles or whatever. And I was that guy, huge ego, all that bullshit. Got to college and then it got humbled. Humbled, dude. And it was so good for me, man. It was so good. Like, I remember when was it? I think my junior year, my third year. I was in California at the Mount Sac Relays and running the 10K. And I was moving. I was like, okay, this is my chance to break the school record. Let's see if we can maybe get a provisionally qualifying time for nationals. And I'm hoofing it. And I'm like, not even focused on anybody behind me. And I'm like, sweet. And then I take a quick glance back. I'm in last place by a lot, dude. And I'm like, oh, man, this sucks. And so I get through 5K.
Far in front of these people.
Yeah, dude. So I go through 5K. And so that's 12 and a half laps of a 25 lap race. And I'm moving and I'm not feeling great. My coach is like, all right, you got to make something happen, man. Like, here we go. And so I start moving up a little bit. And I start to close on that pack that was ahead of me. I'm still in last. And I catch a guy. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm not in last. At least I'm not in last. And then I hear this sound of this guy catching up to me. I'm like, and I said to myself, no matter what happens, I'm going to go with this guy. Because I just thought it was the guy that fell behind. No, it was the guy who was leading the race.
Oh,
he came around, he came up behind me, and dude, this guy smacked me on the ass in the middle of the race and just goes, don't worry, dude, you got this. And leaves me in the dust, bro. He went on to win the national title that year. His name's James Ngandu. Yeah, dude, he actually raced in Spokane recently.
Really?
At the Boulevard or whatever that race was. It was not Bloomsday, but the most recent race that they just had. He just barely came in. I saw his name in the paper. I was like, dude,
that's awesome.
I raced against him. He lapped me, dude. Like, that's awesome.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was long distance in college then is what you were
distance runner. Yep.
Training.
The 5K was my best event, even though I didn't want it to be. I wanted the mile to be my best event, but I didn't have the top end speed. I just didn't.
How well did you end up doing in college?
I ended up qualifying individually for nationals one year, which was great. I did it on an injury, I was so upset. Because I knew that it would have gotten a lot better if I wasn't injured. But c'est la vie. And then qualified individually it was that third year. And then showed up and got like 141st at nationals in cross country, but never made it past that in track or whatever. So I had a national ranking for a week.
Okay.
And then
you were there doing, that was like all 4 years? That was your...
For 5 years, yep. It was 5 years. I went for my 5th year and, just completely neglected my schoolwork level. I was only there to run, like the school for me, like I was a decent student, but it was about athletics for me, like I didn't really care about anything else.
I'm excited to hear about those stories too, but looks like we're running out of time. So we'll get into your college stories and life past that.
Yeah.
In your next one, if you would like to join me for another one,
over the moon, man.
That would be awesome. Is there anything that you'd like to see? Where can they see you?
Ooh, yeah. Let me.
Polygonometry, of course.
Yeah. So if you guys want to check out Polygonometry on Spotify. Polyganometry.
Heck yeah, bro. Awesome. Well, it was great talking to you, bro.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Until next time, guys. Peace.
Hydrate or dihydrate.